Oh. Hello, and welcome to another, in fact, quite sunny and pleasant morning in Manchester. On today, 30th of June. Didn't do musing last week. I've had a really bad cough, and to be honest, I couldn't speak a sentence last week without absolutely just coughing to pieces. And here's where I am. As a result, I've earned the nickname Bob Fleming. There you go. So that's why. And if you don't know who Bob Fleming is, it's a character off The Fast Show. Just look it up on YouTube. Anyway, today's musing is a musing of two halves. Current football theme of the World Cup. So, first bit, I'm going to talk about the Warbas July Painting Challenge. Hereafter known as the July Painting Challenge. And then I'm going to talk about some stuff to do with my campaign at the end. I've got a couple of books I want to talk about, so that's what we're doing today. So if none of that interested you, well, sorry, but that's what I'm talking about, because it's my show. Right then, July Painting Challenge. There's a couple of questions that Tay asks first. That he always does, and I answered them all in previous challenges, but here we go. The beverage of choice is, of course, tea. You can't go far wrong with a cup of tea. Oh, great! So beverage choice. Now, I used to eat a lot of scones. I'd have scones and cakes and all sorts when I was painting, but I don't do that now because I was putting too much weight on. So Mrs. Simpkins put her foot down and said, no, you can't have any more cakes or anything. The only cakey type stuff I have now is I have a packet of these in the morning, breakfast biscuits from Aldi, £1 something, very nice, or some Bea Vista ones, but there you go. The workspace, well, I've got loads of videos of the workspace, so I'll put a link into a workspace video, so you can have a look at that. And the other thing is, cheers to War Chef Andy for creating the Google Plus page for the challenge. I'll put a link into that as well. I don't use Facebook for the hobby. I only use Facebook really for people that I know, physically know. So, all of my hobby stuff's on Google Plus, so I'm glad that there's a Google Plus page now that we can post to, because I was going to feel a bit left out if I had to post to Facebook, so I wouldn't have done it. Anyway, so what I'm going to do, the next part of the Warbas portion is looking at what I'm actually going to be painting in the challenge. So I'll have to change the position of the camera to do pictures of the stuff, the minis and things, so back in a tick. Okay, so this is what we're going to be. This is my primary objective in the month of July. Is to paint these 6mm Romans, the generals for their army. So it's generals, artillery. So those are like ballista things, what are they called? I have units of archers, cavalry. Auxiliaries, and last but not least, legionaries. So this is the that's the primary objective, is to get them. This is enough to make a full list of all options for the early Imperial Roman army in the DBA 2.2 rules. I can't remember what they are. 250, I think, or around about the 250 mark in the army list book. But there you go. That's them. So that's those what I've got to do. Now I also got a load of chariots for my Ancient British, and this is the Ancient British. Very nice little men, these. It's a command unit, that's the general. But I need a chariot for the general as well, so I got some more Ancient British to do, so that's that. And there's chariots for them, that's them. I've also got, as secondaries, I have in here, well, I've already prepped some of these, 50mm Greeks. These are actually Lydians, or as the Lydians, so they are some cavalry and Seoli. So that's them ready, and the rest of them are in there. Trust me, they're in there. There you go. I think you see them there. There's more of them there. Nice chariot there. So there's them as well. I want to get them done if I can. I also have a small but perfectly formed Alcates. This is Alexandrian succession, so they're Greeks as well. These are from north, the Black Sea area. Black Sea, yeah, is it the Black Sea? Baltic or whatever it's called. So that's them. If I get them done, and I get me Lydians done, I'm going to move on. I've got some Welsh, a 50mm Welsh to do. I also have a 100 Years War 50mm to do as well. So I shall just try and crack on and get as much as I can done. I've still got these chaps to finish off this Crusade 15mm. I've got loads of those, tons, absolutely tons of them. But the main objective are these. The reason why I'm doing DBA armies is because they're nice and small. You only need 12 elements, and I intend to build from those elements for my campaign. Because obviously, as the I'm not going to go too much into campaign mechanics here, but I thought the DBA armies are a good little starting point. I've got to get lots of armies, lots of different troop types painted, from all periods of history up until pretty much the end of the 100 Years War. So I thought DBA armies are nice and simple. The 12 elements to be fielded, and you can just start, and I can build from them. So there you go. That's why I'm doing that. All right, so on with the plot. Catch you in a minute. Right, yeah, so that's what I'm doing in the challenge. So hopefully, anyway. What this brings me on to is my campaign. Now, all of this stuff, all these miniatures and things, whilst they're historic, I'm actually using them for my own campaign, for my what's termed as imaginations or imaginations. So, in other words, made-up countries, and different historical forces are going to be representing different countries. I'm currently working on Scandinavia, which are a Viking outfit, and Noxosia, who are essentially early, 11th century Normans, and I've got Brigandland, and they're ancient British, and I've also got the Nicolopian city-states, which is pretty much Greece or Greeks. So those are the ones that I'm working on at the moment, and they will be obviously they're represented in the challenge miniatures. You'll see that those. Or I've got the Alaxian Empire as well. They're the Romans at the moment. So that might change, but we don't know. So that's what that's where the miniatures tie in and everything with the campaign. Anyway, what I thought I'd do is tell you this, or recommend two really superb books. If you want to get into solo wargaming and you're thinking, how do I do solo wargaming? What do I do? You know, and so if you really want to get into a very long-winded and in-depth campaign that's going to last more than 3 or 4 games, it's going to last for years. Another book. Well, the first book I'm going to talk about is this book, and there you go, that's what it's called, The Solo Wargaming Guide. Right, and it's by a chap called William Sylvester. And William Sylvester is a long-time soloist, and you can find him on the Yahoo groups for solo wargaming. And this book is absolutely superb. It gives you a whole load of stuff that you can use to work out randomizations and natural behaviours of people and armies, and it talks about there's a lot of it that goes on about how you program moves and how you program orders and conditional actions on orders. So you know, like what happens if you send out a long range patrol and you know, they move off in the in X direction across the hexes for so long, they can travel for so many days, so you give them 3 days orders and conditions and stuff. And it is, I mean, it sounds quite boring, but it is really interesting. It's a very well worthwhile book to buy. I bought the other one, I can't remember his name. It's produced by I can't even remember who it's produced by now. But the other book that I got, I think it's somebody Aquis. It's good, but it's a bit glossy. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit sort of, it only deals with war games, but this book actually deals with campaigns and stuff, and more. Do you know what I mean? More, it's much more useful. And I mean, for example, you know, you've got sections like the commander's competency, so you can, you know, you can do roll. And it also gives you suggestions and stuff for rules that you can add to existing rule systems like DBA, like Hail Caesar, like Warhammer Fantasy, Bolt Action, 40k, whatever. It says, because it doesn't matter that the information in this is not rule specific. So for example, say you have a unit that you're going to try and make some form of action to. They have you have your tactical plan on the table, and you give the unit all their units have got all their orders. So that's one of the differences. You do give units orders rather than stand there thinking, right, what I'm going to do now. You have to give all your units orders, irrespective of what, you know, whatever, because you're playing both sides, as it were. And you then look at the commander's competency of that particular unit to see if they will perform the order that they've been given. You know what I mean? And it just, and it's not rocket science. It's really easy. If you can play a war game, you can. This book, the information in this book is there's nothing in it that's scary or complicated, but the ideas in it are phenomenal. And it deals not only with ancients, it also deals with World War II and modern, naval, science fiction, fantasy. Do you know what I mean? There's all it can be used for any system, really. Obviously, the main aim of it, I think, is you know, medieval to pike and shot sort of stuff, Napoleonics and things. But it's very good. It's a very good book. And the best thing about it is, it's less than a tenner. It's really cheap. When I saw it, I thought maybe it's a bit too cheap. Do you know what I mean? But I bought it on a punt, and I thought, yeah, brilliant book, fantastic book, well worth getting. Well worth getting for any to add to any of your libraries. It's brilliant. The next book was one that Fraser von Keshingham sent me, It's a book I've been after for a while, and it's about setting up a war games campaign, and it's by Tony Bath. Now this one is an original copy. It's it's a copy from the 1970s. I think it's the 1970s. Let's have a look. It might be later actually. Might be a reprint. You know, it's the third edition, so I don't know what it is, what date it is, but it was originally published in the 70s. No, this one was published in 1986. So, but anyway, it's still the original manuscript written by Tony Bath. You can get it as a reprint. It is done by a guy called John Curry, and it's now called Tony Bath's Ancient Wargaming, in which the couple of books that Tony Bath wrote have been put together in a sort of a compendium. But I do believe that book has been that's been sort of edited slightly, but this is the unedited version, and I'll come on to that in a minute. I cannot tell you how amazing this book is. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's of its day, and that's something that when you read it, you have to bear in mind that the things that they talk about are from a computerized era. So in some places, I'll read you one because it's quite quaint. So I'll just read you this bit. I'll have to put my glasses on because I can't read without my glasses. So bear with. He's talking about things that you can do for your campaign group, like publishing a newspaper. We do blogs these days or whatever, but it's making a campaign newspaper, and it just made me smile, the language in it. So here we go. He says, however, with a larger group, and particularly widespread one, who campaign largely by post, a newspaper can serve a very useful purpose in disseminating rumours and publishing information which players couldn't realistically get by other means. The snag, of course, is that you need access to printing, duplicating and photocopying facilities. Since you cannot produce more than 6 carbon copies of a reasonable quality, and the effort of typing the same several times over will soon dry up enthusiasm for the project, especially if your paper runs into several pages. Now, don't be put off by that sort of old low-tech stuff, because the actual meat of the matter is gold, absolute gold. There is an entire logistics and financial system in this, trading systems. The whole point of solo wargaming and campaigning and all that sort of stuff is to do stuff more than what you can do in a pop-up battle. By a pop-up battle, I mean like you just go down. All right, we'll have a battle. These are the two armies that are going to fight, and we're going to fight, and then we'll see the winner and loser. Yeah. Or what's it called? Do you know? My head's just completely emptied again. Tournament play, which is a pop-up battle. You know, you've got a point, you got this, you do that, you do you fight a battle and you go. There's no story to it. There's nothing to it other than the fact that you've got 2 opposing forces, and you go in and fight and roll a few dice, and there's a winner, a loser, or a draw, or whatever. Campaigning, however, and particularly solo campaigning, allows you the freedom to be as into the minutiae as possible, and this book allows you to do that. Like I say, it's got so much information. I'll just read you through the sections. It gives good advice on setting up the campaign, map movement, sorting out battles, how battles happen. You know, there can be hundreds of battles going on in a campaign due to the way in which troops are moving around the map, but 90% of those you don't really want to fight physically, so there are matrices and systems in place to actually resolve those minor battles and skirmishes, and particularly sieges, without having to fight them. Yet not imbalancing your campaign. It talks about umpires, but soloing doesn't require umpires because you don't have one. Supply and replacement, so a whole, like I say, financial trading system that you can go down. You can actually work out down to the last penny how much a particular country, kingdom, province, or whatever can produce and how much it costs to operate. And that's like, to me, that's sort of like, wow, yeah, I'm dead into that sort of stuff. Characterization, how to build key characters within the campaign. So in other words, the lords, the barons, the generals, the field marshals, the prime ministers, the whatever period it is that you're doing, ways to set up realistic ones. In the book, it deals with a lot of card-based systems. So in other words, drawing us out of King of Hearts is this. Bear in mind, that's another aspect of this being in its day. Now we have lots of computerized characterization things that we use. I mean, all my characters for the Noxia country I generated on a computer. All of the barons and the lords and key commanders and stuff, I've generated those on a computer. But at the same time, those computerized generation systems use pretty much the same sort of methodology, except it's quicker. But you can do it by cards if you want. It's just extra bits to the campaign, as the newspapers and all that sort of stuff. But that's and it goes through the various periods: horse and musket, Victorian, World War I, World War II, smaller campaigns, sea campaigns, fantasy campaigns, science fiction campaigns, and bits and pieces. The main bulk of it is ancient, by the way. That's why it doesn't go into a specific thing. The Hyboria that it talks about is ancients, well, medieval. So that's that. But this book is really, 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 really good if you wanted to seriously get into campaigning, and if you are solo campaigning. It's not aimed at solo campaigning, but it talks about really honestly. It's an amazing book. But like I say, this particular version Fraser sent me, and it's quite an expensive version, I think, these days, for some reason, because it's out of print. It's been out of print for a long time. But like I say, John Curry has reprinted it, and it's in Tony Bath's Ancient Wargaming things, which is, I think it's 2 books. That it's Ancient Wargaming and Setting Up a War Games Campaign in the same volume. I think that's about £12 off Amazon. I'm not certain. I was going to order it, but I didn't because I got this. I didn't need to anymore. So yeah, like I say, and that version I think has probably been edited, so the bits about duplicating and photocopying probably aren't in there. So yeah, very good. So those are my 2 books that, if you want to get into A, serious campaigning, and B, solo wargaming, these 2 items are well worth shelling out for. I've read this book now from cover to cover several times. I've read this book cover to cover twice now since I've had it, and I'm still getting new stuff out of them. Things, as you go through and you start to do stuff, you reread the book and it clarifies certain things, and you go, oh right, well I did that, I could try doing that. None of these books actually give you rules. They give you suggestions of mechanics. So if you're a person who likes to sort of invent stuff, they're ideal. If you don't have that level of imagination, then you're going to find them a bit tough to sort of enact, but keep at it, they're brilliant, I tell you. Anyway, so those are them. What I am doing at the moment regarding my campaign is I am still mapping out stuff. Obviously I've got my miniatures to do. I've made a new set of tokens for armies that I don't own, and for just quick fighting. So it's all coming together. It's all coming together. I think I should be starting the actual reports in not reports, the actual first movements and first actions in August, which I'm quite looking forward to. I'll go on holiday and I'll set it all up and I'll get back. So that's it then. That's today's muse. There will be no more musings now until August because of the Warboss Tay challenge, the July painting challenge. Mainly because I have to make a video every day, and I seriously don't think that you'll be able to cope with more than one video a day from me, because I'll bore you senseless otherwise. So, oh yes, one more book that is good. This is good for everybody. This is by Henry Hyde. If you don't know who Henry Hyde is, he is the editor for miniature war games and battle games. He used to have a magazine called Battle Games, but it merged with miniature war games. And this is the War Games Compendium. My daughter bought me this for my birthday. It is really good book. It's very nicely written. It's got several different rule sets in it. It's just a beautiful book, and it's jam-packed full of very interesting ideas. So there you go, War Gaming Compendium by Henry Hyde. And Henry Hyde, he seems a very nice bloke. He's a very experienced wargamer. And Battle Games used to be an excellent magazine. It's gone downhill a bit since it's merged with miniature wargaming, but I suppose, you know, it's become the lesser of the two parties. So, but Battle Games is brilliant. Anyway, so there we go. That's the musing for this week. Sorry it's a bit shaggy at the end, but there you go. Catch you later. Have fun. Keep hobbying. Bye.